Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Good evening. I'm Rob.
Good evening. I'm Joan. Whether you're watching us live, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or if you're listening to the podcast later on, or even watching this recording later on, we're really, really glad that you chose to tune into our show, and we're happy to have you here. And we already have a few comments. George Dismuke says, let's saddle up and ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Texas. Yeah. And Paul Hollis says, hi, Joan and Rob. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Marjorie Deering says, hello, Rob and Joan. Jim, too, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's still backstage.
He's backstage.
He's with us.
You can hear everything
Jim
that's
Carlson,
going on, so be careful.
Uh-huh. And also, let's see. Oh, hey, Joy Shelton York says hi. Hi, guys. Hi to you, too. Joe Conjal says, good evening. I'm Joe.
Good evening, Joe.
Let me see. Oh, Kirsten Hall. Well, of course, there's a reason. Kirsten Hall says, hey, guys, with a smiley face. And that's because she is Jim's publisher.
Woohoo.
We were just bragging on you, Kirsten, on what an amazing job you do as a publisher and how lucky he is.
That's right. Want to tell everybody, of course, remind everybody, Voice of Indie Podcast immediately follows this program on blogtalkradio.com with Beam Weeks and Gary G's. Every Wednesday night, they've got fabulous guests, usually authors. Tonight's guest is author Gwen Plano. She's written a memoir and several thrillers, so she'll be good to listen to. At the end of our show, we play a minute instruction or a little clip to show you how to get over to that blogtalkradio.com show. So stay tuned all the way to the end to get those details. Episode Rewind this Saturday will be Lynette Cresswell, English author. She also has written some children's books as well.
Yeah, and she is really a nice person.
Wonderful.
If you missed her show and you want to rewatch it,
that's a good chance to do that.
You want to watch it, not rewatch it if you missed it, because that would be impossible. You knew what I meant.
So it's going to be one of these nights.
Yeah.
That's this Saturday, right where you're watching right now, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time here in the U.S.
Yes.
Okay. Next Wednesday, our guest is mystery author Rosalind Reed, and she'll be live with us. And so that's what's coming up. A little bit of news here. Can you bring up the brand for this one?
Okay.
Pre-release notes here. Pre-release news. Breaking news. Brakefield and Berkey have their new Enigma Tracer book. It's a techno thriller. That is available now through March for pre-order. So get over there and sign up for that one. And then released yesterday is none other than The Siren Hunter by George Dismukes. And
the trilogy is complete.
And shall we?
Okay. Can you see?
There we
go.
go. The trilogy
cool?
is complete. Thank you, George.
Yeah. Thanks, George, for the t-shirts. And there's a poster right up there.
Right up there. So if you forget the name of
Rob's
it, you
head.
can watch anytime. I'm in over my head. Well, the Siren Hunter's over my head. I don't know. Also, I wanted to go through the top 6 podcast listeners for this last 30 days. Number 6 is India. 5 was Canada. 4, I can't count backwards, Bangladesh. 3 was Japan. United Kingdom is pulling in the number 2 spot.
That's interesting.
And of course,
U.S. number
the
1.
U.S. are number 1 because that's where we are. So,
thank you, everybody that listens out there. And also, we have a really great fan from the Philippines who is always sending us encouraging emails.
Joan. Her name's Joan, too. Right?
And we appreciate that very much. Speaking of emails, on February 23rd, we're going to have another one of our Campfire Stories live streams for our Tampa Bay Spirits group. You can watch it it's February 23rd at 7:30 p.m. You can watch it on Facebook, Tampa Bay Spirits group page, or our Facebook for Meet the Author podcast page, or our YouTube Meet the Author podcast. So it won't be on all the podcast channels that we do. Yeah. It's going to be a live stream, and tune in. But also, we wanted to encourage people, if you've had a paranormal experience and you want to share it with people, and you don't want your name told, you can just email us and we'll share it. And if
I'm sorry. Just one of the comments there.
Okay. Marjorie Deering said,
"You cracked me up."
China probably tuned in by balloon. Anyway, if you want to tell your story, but you don't want to be on the show, I think Joy Shelton York is here, and she's going to be on it, and so is Robin again.
Right.
But this one is going to be about precognition or premonition, dreams that you've had dreams and then it has come true. But if you have any other paranormal experience, go ahead and write us an email.
Because we're going to have more shows, so.
And we'll probably even talk about it on this next one.
Off track, yeah.
Just go ahead and send it in to us, and we will read it on the air and answer any questions you have or talk about it. And you can have your name or not have your name, whatever you want to do.
Just send it to carternovels@aol.com.
But we do understand some people don't want to be on camera telling their ghost story, their personal ghost story.
Right.
But we want to hear from you. Joe Conjal says, the last show was awesome.
Thanks,
Don't
Joe.
miss this one. Thanks, Joe. It was so much fun, wasn't it? I think we're also going to be doing, because so many people were interested in knowing about all the equipment. I think we're going to start doing little reels to send out, and we'll concentrate on 1 minute, give you a 1 minute little class on how to use all the different things.
Not
Except
in much depth.
maybe not the cat balls.
If they're only a minute long.
That's how long a reel is. So
That's
no,
a real short time. A real short time. Anyway, yes. Don't miss them.
They can ask more questions if they tune into the show.
Hey, what do you say we bring in Jim?
Yeah, Jim's probably fallen asleep
Jim's
backstage.
Fallen asleep, fell over in his chair. Okay, want to introduce Jim Carlson. Hi, Jim.
Hello.
Glad to have you on the show. Did you think you were ever going to get on? All that.
Yeah.
We don't serve many snacks in the Blue Room, do we?
No, it's kind of sparse in there. Not even a cup of coffee.
No,
Sorry about that.
Not even an oyster, right?
Well, thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you on the show. Let me put up your book here right away. Let me show you the cover of this, people.
Jim is a new author, right, Jim?
Yep. My very first children's book, Reagan Slays the Dragon, is going to be released on Monday, February 20th. So just a few more days.
Oh, that's exciting. You've had your first copies already, right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's like, isn't it like amazing when you open up the box and it has your book in it that you wrote yourself?
Yeah, it's really neat. It's like Christmas morning.
It's
almost better than
it
Christmas
is better
morning.
than Christmas. It's like I wrote that. And
Yeah.
it's in the Library of Congress forever.
Right.
That's
Oh my
right.
gosh.
You brought it to life.
I know. It's really, really fun. Joy Shelton York says, great cover. Congratulations. And
Thank
Joe
you.
Angel also says, nice cover. It is a really cute cover, isn't it?
It is. Kim Hanzo is the illustrator that did the artwork. She's one of the illustrators that Fox Point works with, and I think she did a fantastic job. I didn't give her a whole lot of parameters for what I was looking for. I'm sure we'll get into it, but the story centers around Reagan, who is inspired by my niece Reagan, and just like she has short blonde hair, and that was about all the direction I gave her, and she just kind of ran with it, and I think it turned out really, really nice.
I like the chickens.
Yeah, they make appearances throughout the book, so I have to look for those.
No, he really does like chickens.
I do like chickens.
Our daughter has
today.
chickens, and
I
they
never
follow
knew I liked
you
chickens.
around, and
Yeah.
they talk to you. They're interesting animals.
I never realized it until my daughter got them.
Started raising
Went out to
them.
their house and kind of like them.
Mhm.
We've got one.
I do not. I do not. They're too much work.
They are too much work. That is true.
And they're dirty. Just saying.
Now let's not start bagging on the chickens.
I grew up with having to take care of them. Joe Conjal, I agree. Joe Conjal said I had fried chicken. Oh my gosh, look who's in the house, people.
Chanel, long time no
and
here.
Fletcher
Good to
says
see you.
hello. We're so glad that you're here and well enough to watch. Chanel is fighting bone cancer and putting up a good fight too.
Amen.
We love her.
So Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in, what led you to write Reagan?
Yeah, so I'm Jim, obviously, and I'm a Minnesota native, lived here all my life, and the idea of writing a book has been something that's been kind of on my mind on and off for quite a while, I would say, since maybe middle school. I've always thought it'd be kind of neat to write a book. The story of Reagan Slays the Dragon started, so like I mentioned, Reagan is my niece. She's about 6 years old right now, and shortly after she was born, the title or something very similar to it popped into my head. I was on my way to work, and Reagan and the Dragon, something like that, like popped in my head, and made a little note to my phone. I found it the other day. It was actually from 2017. So I just jotted a little note on my phone. I just sat there and stewed for a while, and then one time I had tried sitting down and writing like almost a novel form of something, and made it a paragraph or two into it, and just kind of abandoned it. This is not what I'm not the route I was looking to go. So it just kind of stewed in the back for a while, and then maybe about 2 years ago, it was a cold Sunday afternoon, middle of winter, had nothing else to do, and just sat down and kind of was like, oh, let's revisit this, and started just jotting some words down, and kind of had the first couple paragraphs or whatever written, and liked what direction I was going. So I was like, just kept going, and had basically the entire book written in an afternoon. And obviously started, the idea initially was just like, oh, I wonder, if I could print this out and maybe, do some of my own sloppy illustrations or whatever and give it to my niece as sort of a fun little thing. Yeah. But I thought the end result turned out better than I was expecting. I was like, oh, I wonder what it would take to get this published. So I started doing some research on getting published, and ended up getting connected with Fox Point Publishing, and had a conversation with them a little over a year ago, I think. And here we are. George
says, why a children's book? Most guys write about death and mayhem.
It might just be the stage of life I'm in. my wife and I just had our first baby a year and a half ago. We just welcomed number 2 a month ago. And so had been, gearing up for that when I wrote this book, and, been reading children's books and stuff a lot lately. So I think maybe that was just kind of tilling the soil per se.
You have a month-old baby too, besides your little girl?
Yep.
What is it another girl or a boy?
It's a boy.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So,
and
what better time to launch your first book than with a brand new baby?
Oh, sure. You might as well.
Nothing else going on.
Nothing else is going on in that household. Joy Shelton York said something that I was thinking that will always be so special for her, for Reagan, that you wrote a book about her.
Yeah. So there's kind of a fun story behind that too. So I had wanted to keep the book a secret from Reagan until I had, something in final form to give her. So, I've been talking to my sister and just kind of making sure, are you okay with this type, and whatever. And then, I was on a local news program over the weekend, Fox 9 News, and we decided that would be the way I would introduce or announce to Reagan that I had written a book about her. So I got on a video call with her that afternoon, and my sister pulled up the recording of the broadcast, and she was just kind of looking at the screen like, is this for real? And then once it kind of set in, she got excited. And of course, her 2 older brothers wanted to know where their books were. So
there you go. Well,
you're on the hook
for you.
Yeah, you're on the hook now. How old is she now?
She's 6.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
That's a great age too.
Joe Conjo wants to know, are your plans to stay in children's books, or will you branch out into other genres?
I think the ideas that I've had in my mind right now are more children's book related. I think I just like that way of expressing creativity in sort of a shorter format. And, I like to think to some degree I'm a kid at heart. And so it just kind of engages a part of my brain that I don't get to exercise often. And, I'm kind of known to be the goofy uncle with my nieces and nephews and with my kids. So I think it just fits my personality and where I'm at right now to kind of stay focused on children's books.
Well, Joe Conchel wants to know, how many times have you read the story to your daughter?
The first time I tried reading it to her, I think we made it about 3 pages in before she lost interest and wanted to grab the next book. And so I think we made it through it 1 time.
Yeah, she's really young for that kind of a book. She's more picture books with 1 or 2 words, right?
Yeah.
See
She gets through some longer books sometimes, but it's kind of hit or miss. So
yeah, well, she's only 18 months old.
Yeah.
Give her a break, right?
That's right.
We'll get into books eventually. Well, that's really awesome. I bet that every niece in the world will be really jealous that their uncle didn't write a book about them.
She'll be at school then.
Yeah, in school.
Didn't your uncle do that?
Yeah, right. That would be cool if they had it in the school library.
Yeah.
You could say, "That's me. I'm Reagan."
There you go.
And I slayed a dragon.
That's right.
I would like to slay it. Oh, no, I wouldn't like to slay a dragon. I would like to ride a dragon.
Right. I was going to say, George is not going to be happy with you.
Why?
Because he's loves animals and wants to protect them.
Yeah, speaking of George wants to know, what's your marketing strategy?
Right now, it's just doing as many interviews and stuff as I can fit into my busy schedule right now, and just trying to get the word out. So, I've done a couple of interviews. This is my 3rd interview for the book, and I know I've got an event coming up I'm going to in a couple weeks down in Austin, Minnesota. So just trying to get out to local events as well and promote my book that way.
Well, it's really great that you were able to get onto TV, right?
Yeah, that was really neat.
Yeah.
Kirsten's good about that kind of stuff.
Oh boy, that's for sure.
Oh, here's a good question. Will Reagan appear in any other stories? Maybe like a children's series?
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. It's just a matter of figuring out what her next adventure will be.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds like a good idea.
yeah, and I suppose I'll probably have to figure out a way to incorporate her brothers too. Otherwise, I'll be in big trouble.
I think that would be an excellent idea. They can help their little sister or something in the book,
That's right.
That would make them happy for sure. Oh, wow. Is it time for
our first break? So everybody sit tight.
We're having a word from our sponsors.
When we come back, Jim's going to read a little bit from the book, and we're going to tell you how to reach Jim and have a book giveaway and talk some more.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
They thought the siren was dead. In the novel Siren Song by author George Dismukes, James Harmon shot her twice. Several people saw her dead body sinking slowly into the abyss. But now, in Siren Song 2, evidence suggests that she may still be alive.
She killed that boatload of people. It was her! And she's just getting started!
Angie, that's impossible.
The cold chill up my spine tells me it's not impossible. We've got to start all over again. And this time, do it right.
Siren Song 2. The story continues. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Get your copy today.
Mystery hovers in the Magnolia Bluff Public Library. It has nothing to do with the hundreds of suspense novels on its shelves. Caroline McCluskey is the librarian. She finds a crimson hat and a black and white poodle puppy. They belong to Esther Williams. Esther is missing. The police can't find her. Neither can the FBI. Esther's only hope is a ring of 3 women investigators who form the Round Table. The Round Table has already solved one mystery in town, but this time, a woman's life is at stake. The Doggone Diamond Dilemma is now available on Amazon.
It's a murder scene. It's a murder scene. Like many others, except the prime suspect is a beautiful woman from Detective Ray Schiller's past. Ray is determined to help her. But at what cost? Targeting him for his interference, the killer threatens all Ray holds dear. He's given terms and a deadline he can't possibly meet. Run, Ray, run. Watch the past come back with a vengeance in Targeted. Don't miss a second. Order now.
That's an order.
We have a question before we do any reading from Marjorie Deering. It's a good one. I wrote a children's book, unpublished, for my great-granddaughter. I illustrated it with free photos. I have no idea how to go about finding an actual illustrator or what it costs. Can you give us some tips?
So my illustrator was recommended to me or connected to me through my publisher, Fox Point Publishing. So it's a illustrator that they had already vetted and worked with in the past. So I had a separate contract with her for doing the illustrations, and she charged if I remember correctly, it was just a kind of flat fee per illustration. I'm sure there's a variety of different ways that illustrators can do that, but based on the size or scope of the illustration, it could vary. So
Yeah, our son-in-law is an artist, and he's been illustrating a book for a German author, and actually he used me as a model for for a 75-year-old pirate woman, which I'm 75, and she has long white hair, so he thought, oh, my mother-in-law.
Be famous.
Except I had scars on my face, and
Do you have an eye patch?
I don't have an eye patch, but I have a peg leg.
I didn't even know that.
You didn't. Yeah. He had to use his imagination there, and I have a bunch of tattoos also, so on my face. So yeah, that was fun. And now she's thinking of not publishing the book, but he got paid for the illustrations anyway.
That's good.
Joy Shelton York said, "You're a great model, John."
She is.
I'd be a good pirate. I'm feisty enough, I'll tell you that.
Arr.
Yes. Yeah. Joe Conjal says, just curious, we've had a very mild winter where I'm at. How has the weather been this winter in Minnesota?
Minnesota. Yeah, it's been a pretty good winter. We've had a good amount of snow. We had a couple snow days, so I don't know what our usual is, but it seems like we've had more school cancellations and stuff than typical. We've had a couple of good, 2-foot snowfalls and things. So, but the last couple of days have been in the 40s, so things are starting to melt a little bit and give us a little taste of spring. And then I'm sure winter number 2 is around the corner, so we'll have another couple weeks of snow and cold and misery before spring actually arrives. But
kind of gets you lulled into the springtime feeling, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It's really funny because 40s it's warming up for you, and we're in the 40s here, and we're like, okay, freezing. We told them we had to wear long johns the other day when we went out for our walk in the morning because it was 45. We were dying.
Well,
Kirsten Hall
in all
says,
honesty, it was windy.
It was very windy.
Yeah. That brought it down a little.
And it was 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So Kirsten said, mini snowda. And Joe Conjal said, the 40s. Bob and Joan would die. This is true. That is the truth. It was 6 here in Indiana.
I think it was just a couple weeks ago we had a snap of several days where it didn't get above 0, so that was fun.
Oh, yeah. Now, I have to tell you, though, I'm from Massachusetts, and I grew up in a suburb of Boston, so I know what cold is. And Rob is from a suburb of Chicago, so he sure in heck knows what it is. He's right near Minnesota there.
Yep.
And then we lived in upstate New York, and there it snowed
every day for the whole year.
From like October to May.
Oh my wow. God. That lake effect snow coming across.
George, you're so intuitive. George Dismuke says, I'm guessing that slay the dragon refers to the girl concerning a problem because actually slaying a dragon takes a really heavy sword.
Yeah, I won't give it away, but there is actually a dragon in the story.
There's no death, is there? Oh,
don't
you
talk
can't
about
it. Talk about that. Okay.
Don't give spoilers.
I mean, I guess the title maybe gives it away a little bit. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Reagan Slays the Dragon.
Yeah. You can figure out what happens to the dragon.
Yeah. Would you like to read to us from the beginning of the book? And
certainly, I'll read the first few pages here and do my best to show the illustrations after I read them. So, there once was a brave young girl who dreamed of doing something big, but she was little.
Oh, that's cute.
In the mountain not too far away lived a fire-breathing dragon, and it was huge. The dragon had harassed the village for years, burning their fields and devouring their animals. Its heart was rotten.
He was
Wow.
an evil dragon. Those illustrations are really
Great
good.
illustrations.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You see the dragon up in the mountain there.
Mm-hmm.
Many strong knights went to the mountain to face the dragon and defeat it once and for all, but no one succeeded. When the young girl was old enough, she decided she would defeat the dragon. The village doubted her. There's the villagers.
Wow.
All right. I love your writing, and I love the illustrations.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll stop there because then it starts kind of getting into what she has to do to get ready to slay the dragon. But that'll give you a little taste.
So Marjorie Deering says, kids seem to love dragons. I love dragons. I've been on part of an online game for 13 years where we hunt dragons to raise them, and I have thousands of them. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Crazy. Joe Conjal says those illustrations are fantastic.
I agree.
They really are. I love them. And George Smook says, does the dragon have a name? If not, I would like to see his third wife.
The dragon is unnamed.
Okay. Well, now we
Now
can
you
call her
now
Deborah.
you can call her Deborah. Joy Shelton York said, beautiful story and illustrations. I agree 100%.
Yeah, and but like we talked about the chickens, they make in all of the village illustrations, the chickens make an appearance somewhere on the page. So that's kind of a fun little Easter egg that you can look for.
Joe Conjal says, is your illustrator mainly a cartoonist, or was this a departure for her?
That's a good question. I don't know her full work that well. I've seen some other children's stories that she does. I know she is also an author herself. And the ones that are coming to mind are a couple of Christmas stories she wrote about an elf, I think. I haven't read the books myself yet, but I think she does a lot of children's book stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm concerned about the fate of the chickens because I know what the fate of a lot of our daughter's chickens is, because they live out, in a more rural part. So use your imagination. They don't eat the chickens; somebody else does.
But they managed to get some eggs.
They get a lot of eggs. Yeah,
Which is nice.
especially nowadays.
Oh, you bet. They're like gold. Oh boy.
Yeah, a dozen eggs costs as much as a pound of ground beef now.
Yeah, they're getting expensive.
Here's Kirsten is letting us know it's Kim Hanzo, illustrator, and it has her address, www.foxpointpublishing.com, author Kim Hanzo. So if anyone's interested,
It needs an illustrator.
that's how
That's
you
an
can
illustration
contact
for you.
me. Oh, don't worry, Kirsten. We're going to put up all of Jim's.
Yeah, we're gonna do
Jim's,
that right away. Scanners. There
Yeah.
we go.
Okay. Now, to get in touch with Jim, his website is Linktree, which is linktr.ee/the pen of Jim, THEPENOFJIM. And Fox Point's address is foxpointpublishing.com/author-Jim-Carlson. And that's
point
Fox.
is
I was
point
going
with
to
an
just
E.
say FOXPOINTE
So it's kind of pointy.
Publishing. I was just going to say that. Facebook, Pen of Jim. Instagram, The Pen of Jim. Now this one says The Pen of Jim, so keep that in mind. And email is thepenofjim@gmail.com.
Right. So that brings
As long
us
as we're there,
As long as
yeah.
we're there, let's go to the book giveaway. Now, keep in mind this. The release date is the 20th. You said
The 20th. Yep.
Okay. So
We're
keep
talking
that in
about
mind in the book giveaway.
post
The
the
first
20th.
first three people to email thepenofjim@gmail.com will win an ebook copy of Reagan Slays the Dragon.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Ouch. It didn't really hurt. I don't know why I said ouch.
Just one of those reflective.
Actually, dramatic effect.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Kirsten said, Jim, do you have your quote, pen, unquote nearby?
I do.
That's the pen of Jim. There. We've illustrated it.
Yes, I have several of them handy, so.
That's good, just in case a thought hits you.
Exactly.
Write it down immediately, right?
Here's a question. Did you write it in pen or did you use a computer?
I actually used a little tablet device. I don't have it with me, but it's called a Supernote. It's an e-ink display tablet. So it's like an iPad, just not quite as powerful, and it's got an e-ink display, so it's like a more like a Kindle's display.
Yeah.
So it doesn't use a ton of energy, and it's more for like writing or reading on. So
yeah, and nowhere near as expensive as an iPad. So yeah, we've had CW writes everything by hand, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was written. I wrote it out on the screen by hand. So I did not type it.
Right.
So
I don't do that. I cannot read my own handwriting. I am so glad that we now have smartphones and smartwatches and stuff, because I type my lists on my phone when I need to do something, because
and now the AI
I can't read my own handwriting. It's so bad.
Should be saying. Yeah. So you don't even have to think about it. Just
that's true.
Yeah. Just start writing and just click on the tab button or whatever, and it completes it for you. Yeah.
It aggravates him so much.
Oh, it does. Don't tell me what I'm going to say.
Right.
Right.
Joe Conjo said, I know you said that you didn't give your illustrator a lot of guidelines for the cover. How about the inside illustrations? Did you tell her what you wanted, or did she come up with them on her own, like by reading the story?
Yeah, so for the most part, she came up with the majority of it. I gave her, I wanted to try to keep the color palette on more of a, not real bright, like more of a neutral or bold kind of color scheme. And then I also said I wanted the dragon. It's, a mean, rotten dragon. So I wanted it to look scary, but being a kid's book, I didn't want it to like be too scary.
Yeah.
So,
not overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then I said, Reagan, it's a little girl. She has shoulder length blonde hair. And I wanted the villagers to not look, too homogenous. So she tried to incorporate just a little bit of diversity and stuff in the village characters. So
nice.
You also didn't want them to look too menacing.
Right.
Well, they were the poor villages that were being attacked.
So the dragon looks sufficiently scary, but not too much.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't look really terribly scary.
No.
And Kirsten has a question. Jim, do you plot out your books, or do you just sit back and watch the movie in your head and write it down, I suppose?
Yeah. So for this book, it was kind of more the latter. I just, so the way it started is I wrote the first line, and so there once was a brave young girl who dreamed of doing something big, but she was little. And then, there's a dragon not too far away, and it was huge. And that kind of set the table for the rest of the book. So I had, kind of 2 sentences setting something up, and then a 4-word kind of concluding statement for that page. So I, just kind of called those stanzas and just kind of use that as my, construct for the rest of the book. And it was like, I wonder if I can keep this going through. And there were some pages where I was like, had to get a little creative on how I phrase things for those last 4 words. But that was kind of the structure I gave myself, and stuck to it throughout the book.
Yeah, that's very well written, the way that you wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really like that first page. That was really well written. Did you read a lot of children's books to get an idea of how they're worded, or did that just
So that's been something I've noticed in some of the kids' books and stuff that I enjoy reading to my kids. Is it seems like the ones I enjoy have some sort of either repetition or some sort of rhythm that just makes them a little bit more enjoyable to read. And obviously, that's probably what appeals to kids, is just that rhythm, and helps them keep their attention and things. The other thing that comes to mind is Shakespeare, and like a sonnet has a very defined structure. And so things like that, I think, are just, they tell you not to write or to think inside of a box, but sometimes having that box to work, to constrain yourself forces a different type of creativity. So that was just what kind of happened naturally with the first two stanzas of the book. And I just decided that was going to be my box I keep everything else within.
That was excellent.
Very good.
And Joe Conn just said, a children's book pantser. I love it. That's a pantser, is a person who's not a plotter.
Okay.
You're either a plotter or a pantser, and a lot of us are hybrids. But
Comes from flying by the seat of your pants, basically.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Kirsten said, show a couple of pages with those emphasized words.
Yeah, so the first page, we've got little emphasized, so
Okay.
just kind of where it's not on every page, but then like the dragon was huge.
So those words, that word was huge, and little was little.
His heart was
rotten. His heart was rotten.
That's very clever.
That is very well done.
It has just a little emphasis throughout the book to certain words.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, we need to take our second break, so don't go away, folks. We got some more to talk to Jim about, and stay tuned.
People Who Like to Read Want to Get Their Hands on Books by Becca Jones.
Becca Jones, the breakthrough author who tells it like it is. It takes courage to tell a story when it reveals dark secrets. Becca Jones delves deep into the hidden world of sexual abuse. She tells what happened and also tells how she survived.
Meant to Be is much more than just entertaining. Meant to Be gives you a point of reference, hope to cling to, and becomes a guide for survival if you have suffered the same thing. Meant to Be, Becca Jones, a must-have.
Meant to Be is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites.
First, there was Siren Song, then Siren Song 2. Now comes The Siren Hunter, a continuing saga about Angie Holland and her never-ending battle with the mythological denizens that are not even supposed to exist. Is The Siren Hunter a conclusion to the undersea horror? Only the sirens know for sure.
The Siren Hunter, now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Or contact this podcast. The trilogy is complete.
Madison Jackson loved being a cop. A young girl is raped and murdered near Burnett Reservoir. Madison vows to get justice for the child. Madison travels to the heart of Mexican cartel country. She is kidnapped, tortured. Will Madison ever make it home? Justice by Kelly Marshall, only at Amazon.com.
And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody. All of those commercials are really good.
Yeah. Wow.
No.
No.
Go ahead.
No way.
We need some dramatic music.
There we go. Well, so what's next? We've kind of already talked about that, right? Do you have anything actually that you've actually put down on paper yet?
I have one or two ideas. I've just jotted a note or two down, and that's about it so far.
Okay, nothing really substantial yet. I'm
Not
sure
yet.
it'll come. It'll come when it comes. You're awfully busy with your your young family, I should say.
Yep.
It's not so small. It's growing
It's
by
not
leaps
as
and
small.
bounds, actually.
Only we would say small
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
with our 5 million kids and grandkids and
5 million. Oh.
yeah. Well, 6 kids and 6 kids-in-law and 14 grandkids and a great-granddaughter. And Kirsten, I didn't know you were a great-grandma. That's really cool. We're pretty excited. And we found out it's going to be a girl.
Congratulations.
And yes, because this is important because of our 14 grandchildren, 11 are boys.
Wow.
Yeah, our house was a happening place, I'll tell you.
So you mentioned an event coming up in Austin, Minnesota. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you know where it's going to be, or can you tell us where it's going to be?
It is the Sweet Reads. Gotta find it here.
Put you on the spot. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So it's the Sweet Reads Children's Carnival in Austin, Minnesota.
Must be another Kirsten. She's right.
Yeah.
It's not another Kirsten. It's Marjorie. Marjorie Deering. She said that. That's how great. See, when you get old, people, you know. Joe Conjal said, will you write stories for different ages in the future as you write more? That's a good question.
That is a good question. I think it would be fun to write something geared towards even a younger set, more that newborn to like 2 years old. I think that would have a fun age to write for. And the thought I've had there is I feel like a book in that set needs to have like a hook for the parent, because obviously at that age the kid's not gonna be getting a whole lot out of it. So it's either the illustrations or the parent that wants to keep revisiting the book. So that's been on my mind. But
yeah, your first page was a really good hook for a young child. It
No
really
kidding.
was.
No kidding.
You know, she was very little.
Yeah.
It was very big.
Big bad
That
dragon.
dragon was huge. Are you going to do an Audible or?
I'm not sure yet. I'd have to talk to Kirsten about that.
Yeah. I don't know if it's long enough to do an Audible. If I know that our grandchildren live to listen to Audible books, our two little ones.
They like to listen.
And they've been doing that for years. I mean, they're 8 and they're 10 now, but they've been doing it since they were that age group, 4 to 8.
They would miss the illustrations, though.
Yeah, but they like all the sound effects.
That's true.
The children's books when they read them, but they also had the books to read along as they listened to the Audible. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I've seen books on YouTube that people have narrated, and then you can see the illustrations on YouTube too. But yeah, again, that's probably a question I have to discuss with Kirsten. I'm still brand new to this, so
yeah. Kirsten wants to know: will the chickens make appearances in future books? Oh, they kind of have to
if I write another adventure of Reagan's, they'll probably have to follow her around.
Yeah, because they're going to be those little Easter eggs everywhere.
Yeah, plus they're working for Chicken Feed.
Marjorie says, yes, I'm a great grandma, a pretty great regular mama too. How long did it take you to write Reagan Slays the Dragon? I hope you can keep them coming nice and fast. I'm betting they'll sell like crazy. It looks like a great children's book.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, it really didn't take too long to get the majority of the writing done. Obviously, when I started working with an editor, we made some tweaks and kind of refined some things, but the bulk of the book itself wrote itself in an afternoon, so it didn't take too long.
Joe Conjal says, what is your writing process like? Write in the morning, every day, etc.?
Yeah, for the most part, it's sporadic, I would say. But before I wrote the book, I had participated for a number of years in Toastmasters International, which is a public speaking organization that just gives you an opportunity to hone your public speaking skills. And I competed in a handful of humorous speech contests when I was doing that, and ideas for that would often pop into my head. And like with this book, I would just jot a note down. It would just kind of stew in the back of my head, and then I would come back to it, weeks or months later, and maybe jot a couple more things down. And if it kept going, great. If not, I just set it aside and revisit it. So I feel like that's kind of what happened with this book. Is I had that inspiration for the Reagan Slays the Dragon. I jotted that down, stewed on it for a couple of years in this case, and then revisited it, and something came out. So I've got, like I mentioned, I've got one or two ideas that are just kind of percolating. So I'm just letting those stew, and when they're done and ready to come out of the oven, they'll come out. So
cool. And Pete Sales says, "Hey, great authors." Hey, Pete, right back at you. And Joe Conjal says, "You're really on it tonight with the dad joke."
I think you misprinted that. It should be bad joke.
I beg your pardon.
And actually, we've talked about this, Joe. Do not encourage him. And Pete says, "What genre do you write?" He writes children's books. Kirsten said, "You can't stew on ideas for a couple of years now. Your groupies will want something faster." And I think that was Marjorie's point.
Sure. So I got to stick them in the microwave.
Yes, you've got to nuke it.
At least the air fryer.
Oh, the interest of your kids can give you inspiration.
That's right.
Curious mind.
For sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Our kids gave us lots of crazy ideas. They came up with a lot of stuff. That's for sure. Right?
Yeah. Well, I know one of the ideas I have. I'm thinking I might consult with my two nephews, who, Reagan's brothers, just because we had a little story, a little myth we were building last summer while we were up at the cabin. So
that's
I might
cool.
Consult with them on writing the next one a little bit.
That would be great. And Kirsten said, "Your publicist will lose her mind if you stew on something too long." That's funny. Yeah, well, I think your kids and your niece and nephews are certainly going to be able to give you lots of ideas and things to think about.
Yep.
And I think it's great to have children's books where children solve problems,
Right.
Yeah. So in Reagan Slays the Dragon, she sets off, and the villagers kind of doubt her, and there's a series of things that she has to kind of overcome, or challenges she has to solve. From is she strong enough to wield a sword? There's no armor in the armory that will fit her. She'll need a horse, and so just kind of follows her on the path of learning or demonstrating that she can do these different things, and then when she's on her journey, how each of those different items kind of plays a role in her adventure.
Does she need to get permission from her parents to go slay the dragon?
Yes, of course. I mean, that's not explicit in the story, but yes, any kids listening to this, you should get your parents' permission before going off on an adventure.
Before you go to the armory, and
I'm not sure we'll have a
lot of
little kids listening to this, but could be. You never know, right?
Joe Conjal said, "Go to Chuck E. Cheese and hang out taking notes."
There you go. Eat pizza too. Yeah.
No.
That's what Joe would do.
That's like a nightmare for me.
It's so loud in there.
Oh,
good Lord.
It's just terrible.
Chaos all the time. So you're a young author, and a new author.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for somebody just starting out that has an idea for a book? And
yeah, I'd say just pursue it. It doesn't have to be a fast thing, but it doesn't have to be a slow thing either. For me, it was several months of kind of researching publishers and things like that. And then I know when I submitted my story to Fox Point, it was, I think, a couple months before I heard back from them. So just be patient and, make sure I would also suggest, having a conversation with any publisher or whoever before you agree to anything, and make sure it feels like a good fit for what you're looking to do and fits for what they offer. So
when you contacted Fox Point, they were pretty clear on what you needed to do. Is that right? I mean, what you needed to provide them and what they would provide for you.
Right, exactly. So we had a conversation. So I had submitted. They had a window where they were accepting transcripts or whatever. I submitted during that window. Heard back. They said they liked what I had, and then we had a conversation, and they just talked through what they did on their end, what I would have to do on my end, and it just seemed like it would be a good fit in terms of what I was looking to accomplish with the book. Like, it was something I was kind of just exploring, and like, is this something that's going to be feasible to do? And it just seemed like it was a good fit. And Fox Point's been a great support. And I know I'm emailing Kirsten a couple times a week with questions about how do I do this or how do I do that. So making sure that the person you're working with just kind of fits for what you're looking to accomplish.
Absolutely. And that they're as forthright as Kirsten has been with you. So
Right.
You need that. You need to have everything clear.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So you can understand.
Yeah. And understand what's expected of you. Joe Conjal said, what was your greatest challenge when writing your book, and how did you resolve that challenge?
Good question.
Yeah, I think finding the publisher was the biggest challenge. I had, I don't remember off the top of my head the other publisher I'd spoken to, but I had a conversation with a different publisher, and they were a little bit, I would say a little bit more hands off in terms of the PR and the publicizing piece. And it also sounded like it was going to cost a lot more money on my end to make that happen. And so that was a little bit demoralizing. Like, you go and you're like, well, I'm sure it's going to cost some money to get something. And then they give you an estimate of what it would take. And, there's that sticker shock. And so, I started exploring some more. And then, like I said, I got connected with Fox Point, and things just aligned a little bit better with what I was looking for.
So Marjorie Deering said, I have to ask, in your personal info, it says you compete in humorous speech competitions. Are there actually such things, or is this an example of your, quote, overly literal sense of humor, unquote?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, when I participated in Toastmasters International, they host a variety of speech competitions, and humorous speeches is one of their competition categories. So I competed in a few of those. My last one I did, which was probably about 5 years ago now, obviously COVID upended everything and job change and stuff. So I haven't done anything with Toastmasters for a while, but the last humorous speech contest I did was in defense of the word And obviously when you're in, public speaking settings and stuff, and people are evaluating your speech and trying to help you improve, one of the things they look for is the use of or the overuse of So in Toastmasters, they have an counter. That's a role you have in the meeting. And they just kind of give a report at the end of the meeting, saying, such and such, you had 5 during your speech, or, Jim, you had like 25. I kind of lost count. And so I just gave a speech, I think fit especially well in that setting, because they are kind of focused on the just defending their use.
This sounds like an episode from Monty Python.
Marjorie Deering said,
humorous,
who
speeches.
knew?
Yeah.
And George Dismuke says, in the old days of TV, there was a guy named Art Linkletter who had a program called Kids Say the Darndest Things. He wrote several kids' books based on things they said. One of the funniest things this was my girlfriend's kid that said this, not one of mine. He was 4 years old, and he came running into the house where she and I were talking. And he said, Mommy, Cuate hit me. Cuate was his friend. Mm-hmm. I was living in Mexico at the time. And she said, go hit him back. And he said, I can't hit him back. I hit him first.
Brilliant.
That is the darndest thing.
Yeah.
I could not stop laughing, which she did not find helpful at all, but I thought it was hilarious. I can't hit him back. I hit him first. He's honest. Oh, we already did. Marjorie said, who knew? Joe Conjal said, how are you planning to celebrate when your book releases?
There probably is not going to be any special fanfare. Make sure I have all of my pre-orders in the mail is going to be my big celebration. Check that off the to-do list.
You did hear that he has an 18-month-old and a 1-month-old, right?
Yeah.
Their house is very busy.
Not a lot of celebrating going on at the moment. No time.
Maybe I'll go to bed by 8:30 that night or something.
There you go.
That's what we consider a celebration.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, let's see what is. February 25th is going to be the big celebration for his first event.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
That'll be a celebration.
That's for sure.
It'll be a fun event, I'm sure. Well, this has really been awesome. Believe it or not.
Really good.
Our
Thank you
time
so
is
much
up.
for joining us. Love your book. I think it's going to be a big hit.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. And I guess the last thing I would just say about the book is my hope is that it inspires kids, especially, little girls, to take on kind of big challenges, to overcome those voices of doubt, whether it's external or internal, and to do big things.
Exactly. That's why I said that I love kids' books with a message for kids, life lessons for children. And this definitely has a life lesson for children. You can do anything, right?
That's for sure.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to move you over to the side and stay hanging there until we come back to you.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us.
There's one more comment. Let me
another
bring
comment.
that up. Oh, thank you. Joe Conjal says, another great show. Thanks, Jim. And of course, Rob and Joan.
And
yeah,
you are
thank
welcome.
you. And
Thank
Paul
everybody
Hollis says, another great show. Thanks, Rob, Joan, and Jim.
Thank everybody in the audience for
being in the
contributing.
audience.
It's been a very lively night.
It's been a pretty funny night.
Don't forget Voice of Indie podcast. The instructions will be on
Kirsten
shortly.
Hall says, thanks for the show tonight.
You are most
Joy
welcome.
Shelton, New York says, great show, Joan and Rob. Thank you. Thank you, people. Thank you. It's been wonderful. It's been really fun having Jim on.
It's been reminder episode rewind this Saturday, 5:30 p.m. right where you're watching right now, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time here in the U.S. Lynette Cresswell from England, and that was a really good one.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday, join us live again, right here where you're at 7 o'clock Eastern time for mystery writer Rosalind Reed. And I think we've probably come to the end. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well then, until next time.
That's all, folks.
Bye.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie, and you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.